questions you guys would ask, I'd rather just answer those. Joe?
How are you, sir?
Good.
Good. Is this where we'll be every Monday?
That's a good question. Yeah?
So you might want to get used to the formal
Yeah.
part of it. I know one thing you had talked about earlier in your tenure was getting the receivers straight and getting that position group up to maybe where you had some other positions to the level where they were. Obviously, you enter this year with probably arguably the strength of the team is the receivers.
Mm-hmm.
The transformation there and the credit that goes to Coach McDonald and yourself to just identifying that, and the satisfaction for you to see something that you identified as a weakness and now as a strength.
So year one, we did a study of every position group in the ACC and just what the average height and weights across the board were, and found that we were definitely shorter than we wanted to be in the receiver room. And so, like we've talked about a lot of our recruiting, we really put a premium on length, and at that position, length and speed, change of direction, explosion. And Coach McDonald has done a great job not only recruiting that type of player, but developing those guys with the skill sets needed and teaching them how to be tough. I think those guys are really good in contact catch areas and attracting the football through contact. And it's a fun group to watch. I mean, they really work hard. There's no doubt they're one of the strengths not only of our football team, but of the league. I think, not just, a couple of them, but the depth now that's developed behind the starters to see, what C.J. Riley and Emeka are doing now behind, Kelvin and Steph, and really the emergence of Jacoby, over the last year and a half through his transition from quarterback to receiver. He's just a completely different player, physically, mentally, the whole deal. So George deserves a lot of that credit, and the players, obviously, for buying into what he's talking about.
What have you seen out of Tanner Engel and how he's fitting into the defense?
Just for starters, I think he's probably top 5 football aptitude that I've ever been around. Like his ability to not just comprehend information, because a lot of players do that, but to apply it in the live play, it's uncanny. He's really smart, but also his application of knowledge for how young he is, it's impressive. Very physical. We knew that when we recruited him. He's a striker, but just does a lot of things really well, and he's definitely a guy that's going to play as a freshman and will have a big role for us on special teams, and as we move through the defensive install, we'll have to see if he hits a wall at some point, but right now he's doing really well.
You got 2 guys in Ryan Finley and Kelvin Harmon that, especially as the year goes on and they're having good years, are going to get buzz as potential NFL first-round picks. How important is the way they handle that and kind of shut out that outside noise going to be? And how do you feel like they learned about that from a guy like Bradley Chubb last year?
I think just programmatically we talk a lot about blocking distractions and ignoring the hype. That's one of the things. Anytime these guys get on a watch list, I congratulate them, but also remind them that they don't win anything for being on a watch list. They have to earn it through their play throughout the year. And those guys understand that. Obviously, they've had some good people to watch that have been through this process, as you mentioned, and that's helpful for sure for them to see how it was with Bradley. But there's a lot of guys that will have to go through that, and each one of them will have to handle it. I think, the biggest thing we talk about is the people that are telling you how good you are, the people that are going to remind you that you're not when you make mistakes, and just to keep it all focused on where it needs to be, doing your job, preparing the right way so you can do it at a high level, and staying healthy so you can do it consistently.
Coach, given the fact that you have had a chance to have a scrimmage now and you've gone through several practices with pads and things like that, who are some of the younger guys that are standing out outside of, obviously you've already pointed out Tanner Engel?
You talking about true freshmen or just?
True freshmen, newcomers, anybody along those lines?
Keyshawn Miller, one of the transfers at corners, had some nice days for us. Excited about, he had a really good practice today, his progression. Was really excited early about Trent Penix. He's been out a few days now just with a minor ankle, but he's a young man that we think's ahead of where we thought he would be at this time. Aleem McNeil's gotten better each practice. And it's been fun to see that. You know, Damian Darden's a tight end we redshirted last year that has shown a lot of improvement. I already talked about Ibrahim Conti, another D lineman we redshirted that's made some nice plays. Chris Dunn, our kicker, has continued to do some good things. He made a game-winning, we call it a Mayday field goal yesterday in the stadium at the end, and it was a 45-yarder, so it was great to see that in front of the team. But those are a few.
Dave, last year so many of the questions were all the building you guys have done as a program. Could you take a leap forward? And you did that. So is it a different challenge, or how much of a different challenge is it when you lose key guys, that the building you've done, can it maintain the success you had last year?
Well, it's different, but a lot of it doesn't just happen. I mean, I think health is a big part of this. You know, I mean, if everybody that we've got lined up to replace them with is healthy and ready to go, that comparison would be different than if 7 or 8 of those guys are injured and can't go, because now you're playing a freshman instead of a junior that's been waiting to play. And so as long as we're, you know, going from graduating senior to players with experience behind them, then I think that's the recipe. But when all of a sudden you got to put 7 or 8 brand new guys out there because you've had things happen, then that would be different. And I don't know where we'll be when we get to game 1, but you know, those are different scenarios. There's not many true freshmen that can come in and just immediately pick you up where you left off at a position, and there may be 1 or 2 that do, you know. But overall, you would like to see like we talked about, I don't know, first time I talked to you guys, the James Smith-Williams taking his opportunity now, you know, and Darius Bryant, that kind of progression is kind of what you're looking for. Reggie Gillespie, you know, it's his turn, you know, seeing that kind of progression. And when you have to play a newer player that maybe hasn't been here, like Kerry Angeline, you know, as a transfer, an older guy, Val Martin, you know, that's why you recruit an older player, to kind of fill a void that has occurred through, you know, some attrition in your program.
I wanted to ask how the workload was dispersed across the running backs in the scrimmage yesterday. You mentioned Trent out, but with Nakia and with Ricky, his health, I know the wrist was the thing in the spring, but how is he now, and what did those 2 guys do for you last night that you liked, or yesterday in the scrimmage?
They didn't practice yesterday. So yesterday we had 5 different backs practicing, and Coach Kitchen just rolled them. I mean, it was like every 3 plays there was a new guy, you know. And unfortunately, you know, none of these are long-term things, but the timing of yesterday wasn't good. Nakia was a little banged up, and happened the day before the scrimmage, so we weren't going to put him in that position to hurt him worse. Looks like he'll be back tomorrow. Ricky's pretty close to coming back, so you know, we're looking forward to getting him back out there. I know he's been patient but frustrated, you know, wants to get out and play. Trent's pretty close. He ran today on the side and is getting there. I would think in the next 5 to 7 days we'll have that full health backfield that we're looking for, but right now it's just a bunch of tough guys trying to fight through and help the team. Stephen Morrison, Tyler Baker-Williams, Will Dabbs, Tyler Dabbs, Brady Bodine, all these guys are playing running back right now, just trying to help us and do the best that they can until everyone else comes back.
Dave, what have you learned about your defensive backfield that maybe you didn't know because last year's defensive front was so good?
You know, I think the biggest thing that's going on back there right now is there's experience, and that wasn't necessarily that way, particularly at safety. You know, when we had to move Sean Boone last year to nickel, and we had 2 brand new safeties starting after that, there's a learning curve that's going to take place, and then there's mistakes that unfortunately you have to coach through and develop. And now you're seeing a really confident Jarius Moorhead, a really confident Dexter Wright, a really confident Isaiah Stallings, a really confident Tim Glass. Last year they were nervous, you know, and so now they're confident, and so that's the difference you're seeing. I don't think it has anything to do with the D line right now. It's just their experience levels not even the same, you know. Nick McLeod's playing with a lot of confidence. Chris Ingram is playing with a lot of confidence, you know, because he went through what he did last year. He played in special teams every week. He got a start against Wake, and didn't play well, but learned from it and has gotten better. And so all those things help, and that's the one thing you can't coach. You can't give them those game reps. And so that's the biggest difference you're seeing back there right now.
You mentioned Val Martin, you have Laurel on the defensive line as well.
Yeah.
And Joe Babros. You played 8 guys up front last year. Do you think you have 8 guys to play again up this year? And is that is your goal?
8 to 10 is our goal. Laurel's looked really good. He's looked really good. I really like him and Darius Bryant, Grant Gibson. Those guys are playing hard. They're consistent guys. Shug's guy, we got to get back to full strength. But, those 4 guys are big guys, are strong. On the ends, you know who the starters are. It's been fun to see Deontay Holden finally healthy and working hard out there. Joseph Boltapelli is continuing to getting better. To see his progress, Xavier Elias and Joe Babros, those are the other guys. Babros working the ends, so we're a ways off. Yesterday was a really good day to watch film on those guys, because in practice they think they made a play, and then yesterday they had to actually try to make it and get it down, and so some people got exposed and some people didn't, and it was good to see that. And Aleem's the one that I think, as he continues to have the game slow down, his physical tools are very obvious. You get him into certain drills where there's not a ton of stuff going on yet. He plays really fast. And so just getting him in football shape, I feel like there's really 5 inside players and 5 outside players that we could play with if they're all healthy.
A less serious football question. What is a day like today like for you guys to finally interact with people other than yourselves, and does it add a sense of excitement for the season?
Well, it's the first day that's not Groundhog Day over here, where everything's not the same as. So we get to change our routine, we get to see other human beings, our families get to come around, we see children running around. I think it's great for the players. It just reminds them of life outside the meeting room and the practice field. And it's fun, for them to feel the passion of the fan base. I think that's really healthy for them. Give them the insight of sometimes you forget what's going on in the real world. So it's great for them. And just spoke to our parent group downstairs, and I know they're excited to see their sons tonight and hang out with them. We'll give them the night off tonight so they can be with their families and pick it back up tomorrow.
Could you update the competition and kickoff return and punt return and how that's kind of shaking out?
Probably Thayer Thomas and Jacoby Myers in that order as our punt returners right now. And then the kickoff returner, Maurice Trowell returned kicks at times last year and did some good things. He's probably in the lead. But once we get the running backs back and healthy, I think that will help that competition. C.J. Riley and Emeka have been back there working as well, and Steph Lewis. Steph's looked really good as a kick returner. So we just installed that unit 2 days ago, so we got some work to do before we kind of figure that one all the way out.
What kind of impact does A.J. Cole have on the team on and off the field, and what will you miss most about him after he graduates?
Yeah. Well, off the field, he's without a doubt the most committed spiritually. Talk about knowing who you are. Just you guys know AJ's story, but the mission trips he's been doing since 8th grade, and what he knows exactly who he is as a person, exactly who he is spiritually. He knows what his why is, and so I'm going to miss that. Our team will miss that. He's going to be very successful. As a punter, he's got great game experience. He's really good with the other guys, the special teams guys. I think he has great energy, but also understands how to calm guys down and talk to people. And so he's a very level-headed young man that has great leadership ability and a talented leg. So, we're excited for him for his senior year.
Coach, with the strength of this offense being throwing the football, I wonder in terms of balance, what are you comfortable with as you look forward, and how much will you lean on Ryan Finley to make plays with his arm?
Well, if you said that to Coach Ledford, he'd probably fight you, So I think, we're still searching for what we need to do there. I do think Reggie's going to be a handful for people. And he's a bowling ball, and he's very focused. And so it's just more about finding who goes in there when he's tired right now to offset what he gives the game. But we'll have balance. You know, we're going to be a little different. Obviously, we feel great about Ryan and the wideouts, and when Kerry comes back, about what he can do also in the passing game. But we're going to be a football team that can run the ball when we want to run the ball, and I think that's important because that's our DNA, and we're not going to give up on that. And we feel like we have weapons that still fit that system. It's just getting those guys healthy so we can see it.
Coach, you mentioned Thayer Thomas earlier. Just how neat is it to see a player come in unheralded like that and to work his way into the lineup? And how did he work his way and get some playing time?
Well, a couple years ago, I went to watch them play Sanderson, and it was when Thayer was playing at Heritage. And so, obviously, he has a brother on the team, and we were watching multiple players. Aleem was playing in that game. Penix was playing in that game. So there was a lot of recruits that are on our team now, so I'm allowed to talk about them. But when I left the game, Coach Washington came up and said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "Well, it was a talented guy here, talented guy there." We talked about all those guys, and I said, "But the guy I was most impressed with was Thayer." And I said, "Can you tell me his story? What are his grades like, this and that?" I didn't know he was related to somebody else that we'd be recruiting at that time, and he filled me in on his background, his GPA, his work ethic. And when I came back to the staff room, I told the staff, we got to find a way to get this young man to walk on, because he's the kind of player that could earn a scholarship here. He's really talented, and to his credit, he got here, he busted his butt. He's competed with some really good players out there. He just makes plays, and he can run. I mean, he's one of those guys that is deceptive, and he ran a 3.91 shuttle. I mean, his change of direction is legit. So, I mean, he can go. Is that it? Enjoy your time with the players. Appreciate you guys being here. Have a great day.